Welcome to today's episode of the PrintIsBack podcast. Today, we want to explore the crossroads of technology, creativity, and also the future of print, where everybody's talking about. The graphic arts industry is facing unprecedented challenges, and everybody talks about offset volumes under pressure, digital presses coming out, promising speed and flexibility, and sustainability, of course, demands reshaping how we think about inks, substrates, and finishing. But here's a real question. How do we separate the hype from reality? So good morning, Andreas.
Good morning, Jacques. Good to see you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so here's the question about the innovations. How do we separate the hype from the realities of today?
Yeah. It's funny because yesterday I found an article I wrote, I think it was around Drupa 2012, so 13 years ago. And it was a very important Drupa at that time. And the former CEO at that time was Bernhard Schreier. And a very important part of his pre-Drupa communication was that he counted the number of innovations Heidelberg will present. And he counted something like 108 innovations. And then I thought, oh my God, that's amazing. And then I checked it, and 99% not innovations was product updates, software, hardware. It was a kind of invention, but not a real innovation. And I think we have to make clear what is the right definition of innovation, because I think we use that term a little bit in a strange way. And there's the godfather of economics, Austrian scientist Joseph Schumpeter, and he made the best definition I know. And he said innovation is something like the creation of new combinations of resources, including new products, production methods, markets, and organizational structure. That means you always need a very holistic approach, not a very sharp focus. You need that sharp focus to optimize current products and solutions. There's a differentiation between innovation and invention. Invention means that engineering is doing something new, focusing on practical applications rather than mere idea generation. The innovation is dedicated to new concepts, to new ideas, and to combine things in a new, very unusual way. And then the other thing I discovered yesterday is when we had those announcements from Komori, from Koenig and Bauer, Canon, etc., and they all announced we have new B2 machines. So that means digital or offset, they cover both, and B2 is the new hype. And then I screened what kind of arguments they have dedicated to their specific solutions, because all those solutions are a little bit different. For sure, they want to create printed sheets in the half format, in the B2 format. All of them say it's about flexibility, it's about high quality, it's about tech innovation, it's about sustainability. So they don't differentiate in their communication about the innovative products they present. So the new inventions, they use the same argumentation. What do you think? When I got it right, you joined an event last week, very important, and you saw one of those presentations I'm talking.
Yes, absolutely. And I do agree. Of the last couple of days, weeks, that mid format, as you said, the B2 format, is getting a lot of attention. And so last week I went up to Utrecht in the Netherlands, and that is where I was invited to the Komori Crossover Event from Komori. But this time it was a bit different. It really well organized, and in the industry, most of us we know the Hunkeler Innovation Days and those dedicated events, let's say. So Komori this year actually had also the finishing side of things integrated. So they also got the Post-Press Alliance on board in their event. So to give seamless, connected systems. And of course, one of their highlighted products from Komori themselves was launched, which was the Komori J29, which is exactly a digital B2 press, and it is actually targeting also the packaging world because it's a UV inkjet technology in 4 colors.
So not offset, to make that clear, because Komori is
No,
famous for good offset printing
yes,
machines. So they step
exactly. So
into
no.
the inkjet printing
There's
press
they're
area.
stepping into the digital presses, the digital inkjet production, that is. But yeah, with kind of a very, I wouldn't say narrow, but more narrow target also on packaging. Nowadays, it's like for little carton boxes and so forth. But I have to mention it's a 4 color print procedure. So they can, of course, like simulate Pantone colors to a certain extent. I think they said something about 85% or a little bit higher of the Pantone colors. Yeah, which might be or might not be enough maybe in some of the packaging spaces that they need. But I'm sure they did their studies. But yeah, just to get a bit more into the details of that B2 segment, apart from that launch of that JTrone 29 digital press, I met a lot of people. I'll just give you a little bit of the interesting talks that I had, and I won't go too deep into it. But as we're talking about innovation, Andreas, like you explained earlier on, in your mind or mind, what innovation really means, I also came across a good friend of ours, Henrik Christiansen. He is kind of the European guru of robotics. He's been into the robotics, then into our world, into the printing industry, the graphic arts industry. So he is now teamed up with Yaskawa, the well-known guys who are into robotics, industrial robotics. Yeah, they invited me in for a sneak peek, like a private viewing that they were holding there also on a new robotized commercial print production concept. And there's still patents pending, but basically what they want to go into in the near future, and they are basically trying to make it work. They want actually to bring robotized signature feeding, for example, like robotized collating of signatures for probably some of the higher ones. That is maybe a bit what was different in that event, because a lot was digital printing orientated, while this, for example, this was clearly more, to my idea anyway, targeting the offsets and the higher runs, the more industrial production of book printing. That's where they actually want to robotize the
Yeah.
collating, the feeding of those signatures onto the book bending lines. So it was fantastic to see, because from the old days, I was also into the book printing business with my business before I sold out. So that is still very manual at some points. They think they have the solution to integrate robotics with robotic arms into that production stage.
A
Of course,
question.
yeah, sure.
What is the focus of robotics? Is it to save work power, or to be more productive? Because what I've learned from digital book production is the tricky thing is not high-speed printing. That is working. But in that moment when a printed piece is done, then the follow-up process is too slow. Can they speed up the whole finishing process,
Well, I
or
do
just
think that
only automate it?
no, I think it's all of the above. I think it speeds up. You can work 24/7 basically, like in automotive. So you will definitely speed up. I think there's also, even though many, and we won't go too much into the details of the technical details, even though the newer machines, collators and so forth, they all have checking mechanisms, but it will also have exact and good books coming out, so that you have lesser waste also. But it's all of the above. I think it's also the lack of people that uh, that printing houses can find. It's not the most attractive work, to put signatures in the binding line, for example. So yeah, it's all of the above, and I think it's a bit analog to what we have seen now the last couple of years, and it's also very successful. The Kobo stack, it's a product for MBO. It's also under that Komori conglomerate. It's actually a robot that takes out after the folders, for example, the stacks of folded sheets, and stacks them onto pallets. And that's also something that is really well accepted now in the industry. So this takes this 3 steps further, I would say, to integrate it also into those types of production lines. So I think it's all of the above. But as you say, I think this is this innovation. Well, it's marrying the known technology of robotics, make it accessible to our industry as well, and in the meantime solving a lot of problems that many printers have, like we just said, staff, quality, and so forth. So, and speed, of course. And then we come to the following point, which was actually interesting to see that this solution kind of takes more a bet into the offset printing world, because also there, I mean, they feel the warm air in their necks blowing. And so they also have, like like Heidelberg, Königenbauer, and all the others. They also made huge steps forward in bringing that setup times and stuff, and the waste sheets to come into color, to bring that really down to the minimum date changes and so forth. So yeah.
Thank you for sharing all those insights. It's very useful to know how that works and to get more or less a complete picture, because I think innovation in the field of printmaking or printing is not dedicated to certain silos. So I think we should bust the silos and we should see what is the complete value chain. And at least printing is for me a production business, but it's related to the communication business as well. And I think when we use innovation, the term innovation in a better way, in a proper way, in a correct way, it helps a lot to get the complete picture in the right way. Because, for example, it's very hard to differentiate what is the benefit of digital printing regarding those B2 world and the packaging world. Is it on-demand short run? Is it individualized printing, variable data printing? I think it's not in the packaging sector right now. In most of the cases, it's on demand, and then it's more or less like a religion, because we have this push to stop Heidelberg technology, which makes it possible to run 10 to 12 different jobs per hour. So that means offset is really able to produce high quality, high speed, very cost efficient, on demand printed pieces in a number of copies less than 100, maybe down to 50. And I know from the past that they had also this unicolor technology, that you have no more waste. And that means for sure you have to use plates, but to make these plates working is a question of a few seconds in the meantime. Yeah, so it's really speeding up this process to change plates. And so for me, it's not an easy differentiation which kind of technology makes really sense. What I've also learned with digital printing is that most of the new machines are really dedicated to special application areas. And therefore, maybe offset could offer better flexibility to switch between commercial printing, packaging, so to switch these application areas in a better way. What about, did they say, did they also share which markets they want to address?
Well, from what I heard, it is the commercial markets, but they also are targeting, I think, heavily the packaging market. Yeah, I brought out some samples. They go up to 450 grams of carton, so that's certainly sufficient. But it didn't go all the way into the details of all the technical possibilities of this press. But the thing that kind of stayed into my head also afterwards was, yeah, like these innovations or evolutions maybe in some sort, like we established. focusing on AI-driven quality controls. It's all automated more and more. The robotics, but also nanographic printing. We've talked about it earlier. Recyclability of the inks and so forth. I mean, if you go into the digital printing side of things and automation and so forth, and you solve a lot of problems or some challenges, but probably also create some others. I had a conversation with some of the people also there on the Komori event that are more into the finishing of once the product has been printed, and still here this is a UV technology, so it comes out completely dry and so forth,
Yeah.
but it lays kind of a layer on top of the substrate, and then it dries or cures it or whatever. But then you kind of create challenges, I wouldn't say problems, but challenges downstream near the finishing and also the embellishment of things. And that was something that came up also with several people that I spoke at the event, that there still are challenges that they don't see with offset products, that they do have then in the finishing or the embellishment with digitally printed materials or collateral. And then, as we all know, but we won't go into this subject here, and then there is that ecological subject of the inkability of those toners or inks or nano inks or whatever. And that's why I kind of said to myself, okay, offset has been around for many, many decades and hundreds of years. And we kind of know by now where those limits are and what the advantages, disadvantages are. Whilst with those digital printing techniques, I still see now that going downstream, there are still some issues that might, then again, have challenges for the PSPs. I spoke to also with Jurgen Latte. He's the sales manager at IGEPA, Bilax.
Yeah.
But he sells the equipment, and he says, well, still people today, they also are a bit worried because it's a big investment. And is this the right time tomorrow or is it today? When should I go into this new, let's say, technologies to basically go and substitute offset? And for a real offset printer coming from the offset world, I still feel that it's a difficult decision to say, hey, I think this is the moment where we're going to replace our technologies that we have known for so long and that are actually performing well, but are still under stress now also by the new demands of personalized print. So the question also for the coming years, I think, is when is the time right to go into, and not with one little copier. I mean, many of those printers, they already did some testing and felt a little bit how to work. But when is the real changeover point from when can they really go from offset into digital printing with enough certainties that everything will run smooth and they will be able to sell their product for the right price where they can make money at the end of the day. And of course, where the customer will be happy with the product that he's asking for. I think that is a big question many PSPs today have in their minds, and that all those machine manufacturers are trying to respond to, I think. And this is exactly what you now also saw, that the B2 format seems to be that format that is probably a bit more attainable to take up that challenge with offset.
Yeah. I think that is a brilliant analysis you just delivered, and also a good advice for us as the podcasters. Print is back, running Print is back, because I think when we deal with innovation and we treat innovation on this print technology side in the right way, the question is how to create a new ecosystem for print production. It's not only a question of which technology, because what I've learned is digital printing is describing maybe 100 or 150 different technologies. bringing ink on paper or a toner on paper or whatever, yeah, in a different way than offset and gravure printing is doing it. So it's all about this new ecosystem. And I think when we try to identify the right conversation partners, really to ride on this wave, to step away from novelties and new storytelling, yeah, I think this could be also in communication automized by robots, yeah, because if you publish a news, it's published, so you don't have to talk about it anymore. And if your navigation system is good, this news reach you automatically. But the value of that news to deliver the complete picture, to really understand what is the message behind. For me, for example, it would be interesting to talk to Komori how they handle that they are now stepping in the best of two worlds. So how do they handle this transition and transformation process as a manufacturer? This is also interesting because I think this kind of story would really help customers to discover the real value of what Komori is doing. And also the same with others. And I think we have to differentiate between suppliers who are able to cover, let's say, both both sides of the coin, yeah, like Koenig and Bauer and Heidelberg, and also our friends from Switzerland, Bobs, or others which are digital players, pure digital players. You know, they cannot offer this option to have a really valuable ecosystem. Because I think we started many years ago to think about hybrid print production scenarios. I'm missing this discussion actually. So it's again so black and white, 0 and 1. And I think with our way, Jacques, to run PrintIsBack podcast, we can really set up a complete conversation scenario. That is my personal approach. Is it a fantasy or is it for you more realistic what I'm talking about? I don't know.
No, it's absolutely correct. Yeah, I think that the industry shows, because I think it was just yesterday or the day before yesterday, I posted a little teasing question on LinkedIn as well, on an announcement of Canon. They also just announced a VarioPress IV7, which exceeds again the speed of just last week that I saw at Komori in B2 sheets per hour. So I mean, it's a competition, and you can feel it that it is going to change the market. It's not going. It is already changing the market. So everybody is aware of that. But as I said, the interesting thing will be, like you say, that we have some engaging conversations and insights from people, who then also can give a bit more confidence to the PSPs and the printers to make that decision. And when they have made a decision, that they've made the right decision. Because if you're too early, it might be not nice. And if you're too late, I mean, your competition has taken your customer. So I think it's that balance that we, as also in our podcast, will like to discuss with many, how they see the near future, and when they are on that tipping point, or have they already tipped over. So it would be interesting to follow up on this conversation, Andreas. So I think for now we will leave it at that, and I'm sure we'll come back to this topic and this very interesting challenge that the industry is taking up. Anyway, like always, we will catch you in the next one. Andreas, thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate. Thank you too, dear Jacques. And hopefully our listeners or viewers enjoy what we do, and everybody is heartily invited to join our conversation or to share topics we should cover. So we are very open-minded and very confident and positive related to the future of the printing community worldwide.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And on that note, like you say, it won't be the same. It will probably be better for those who are still in the game. For us guys, PrintIsBack. Thank you, and we'll catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.